As teachers, we have a few ways of getting the attention of large rooms, but I'm going to try a new one tonight I've never done before. If you have a child currently in the elementary school, can I get, for the Rhinestone Rodeo, a yeehaw? Yeehaw! If you have a student in the upper school, can I get a yeehaw? Yeehaw! And if you have a student in my world, the middle school, can I get a loud yeehaw? Good evening, everyone. If I've not met you before, my name is Manta. I teach 7th and 8th grade science at the school. Fantastic to be here with you tonight. The Rhinestone Rodeo is all a little new for me. I'm not an Idaho native. I grew up actually outside of Chicago. I came to the school last year, and this is the first cowboy hat I have ever owned. I'm very proud of it, but for the course of the talk, I'm going to take this and actually put it aside, because the haircut that you now see was done a week ago by my 8th grade student, Zash Rios, for his Joy Project, and I'm way more proud of this. My job title at the school is science teacher, but at community school that means doing a lot more than just science class. I also get to coach soccer, I coach basketball, guide students through the backcountry. The hardest part of my job is actually getting middle schoolers to take out the compost each day. Teaching in middle school also means that I have the privilege every day of working alongside some of the most singular, creative, and driven teachers that I have ever known. If you've ever had a child in Joel or Naomi's class, you know why I count myself lucky that my classroom is right in between the two of them. I also work every day with Ellie, Anthony and Anthony, Nancy, Heidi, Heather, Kira and Kara, Claudia, Matt, Reese, Daniela, Erica, Stacy, and our all-seeing eyes at the front desk, Yvonne. If you have had a child cared for or taught by any of the people I just named, please make some noise for them now. Most of my friends back home are not teachers. When I tell them that I am, they're aghast as to why I would choose to spend my workday with the middle schoolers. Middle schoolers have a reputation for being impulsive, stubborn, incomprehensible, even having the capacity to be downright mean. I can say after doing this for 6 years, yes, it is all true. But they are also genuinely misunderstood. Middle schoolers have different priorities than you and I, and most of their actions make sense when you see it as good faith attempts to pursue alternative priorities. They can even be genuinely selfless, not in the way, though, that you and I think of the word. In May of last year, there was a day when a dozen of our 8th grade boys somehow ended up in a breakout room with a giant Plinko board, and they started making wagers on what number the Plinko chip would land on. I found this out when I was in the hallway, and a group of 10 of them stampeded past me, rushing towards the boys' bathroom. I stopped to ask what was going on, and they explained immediately to their teacher that one of them had bet that if it landed on 7, they could go to the toilet and give him a swirly, and it landed on 7. That's not the amazing part of the story, though. I used my excellent teacher judgment to decide that probably shouldn't happen, sent them back to their classrooms, but 10 minutes later, that same group of boys was mysteriously missing. I went to the boys' bathroom to investigate, and lo and behold, they're all gathered. But something was amiss. That boy from earlier was standing near the entrance, unaccosted, and when I made my way through, there was a different boy kneeling in front of the toilet, moments away from being swirled. I demanded an explanation, and I cannot believe what they said. One of them told me immediately, "Oh, well, he didn't want to do it anymore, but it's okay. He volunteered." That story makes me laugh, but take a second to appreciate what's being offered there. Really, visualize yourself in the middle school boys' bathroom stall, and think about how badly you don't want to put your head in the toilet. This young man was motivated by some combination of ambition, identity-seeking, social role-playing, and even selflessness to make him step in for his friend and say, "I'm the guy for this job." These are the big questions we ask as middle school educators. I was also nervous when I moved to Sun Valley from Illinois over how much getting up to speed I had to do with regards to outdoor sports and gear. It was my middle school students, more than anyone else, who welcomed me by fielding my stupid questions with eagerness to help rather than judgment. In fact, there was only one group of people that was more welcoming to me as a newcomer than my students, and it was their moms. To the moms and dads of the PAs, I'm being honest when I say that you make me feel adopted some days as your estranged eldest son. You make sure we're fed on conference days. You brought every student and every teacher cookies on Valentine's Day. You run a truly peerless Teacher Appreciation Week, and I fully expect one of you to be asking me to do tequila shots on the dance floor later tonight. I'm looking forward to the DJ as much as anyone, but I want to make one serious point before I step off stage. It was suggested in this speech I could talk for a moment about why I choose to teach at Sun Valley Community School. To explain that, I'm going to have to take you back to the summer of 2021 in July, when by happenstance, I ended up with a day in the Denver Art Museum. I walked up the stairs to the second floor, and when I got to the top of the last step and looked up, I saw this painting, hanging there, beautifully framed. In 2021, I was a 7th and 8th grade science teacher, but at a different school, a public charter school on Chicago's southwest side. And I was starting to have some doubts about my future there. I still loved my old school with all my heart, but over the course of 3 years, I saw how a bunch of forces, mostly outside of anyone's control, had caused it to transform. Transform from a school that held many of community schools' same values into a place where everything had to be sacrificed on the altar to math and reading test scores. Minutes of the day were taken away from recess, from art, from after-school enrichment, and yes, from science. The pressure was such that students couldn't afford to waste a second that could be spent improving their reading comprehension or math fluency. So children were never to be disruptive, they were not to be off task, and they certainly were not to be idle. The name of the painting is Childhood Idol. It was painted in France in 1900 by William Adolphe Bouguereau. And the museum's not looking to sell it, so as far as I know about art, that puts the value at priceless. And so I started laughing, standing there, looking at a priceless work of art, and thinking to myself that if these girls were students at my school, and I saw them sitting around eating licorice, I would give them a demerit and tell them to stop being off task. This work of art is great because everyone in this room immediately recognizes the feeling that it captures. I know you do, because you live in Sun Valley. We spend millions of dollars chasing this feeling, buying ranches, risking life and limb on ski jumps, sending it for 6 days down a river trip, hoping to catch for a moment that pure and carefree essence, when everything else falls away, and you're just smiling with your friends. An amazing thing about kids is that they can bring about this feeling a dozen times every day, and usually for free. You might not notice it because it's often pretty quiet, it's unpredictable, and to adults it might even be invisible or a nuisance. But they will manage to bring it up again and again as long as we don't admonish it away. As long as we don't beg children to replace it with an impending wave of adult stress and evaluation. Surely the job of a school is in part to prepare students for their future, and I witness every day how we do equip students to think critically, embrace challenges, and lead impactful, purposeful lives. But I also firmly believe that childhood joy is a terminal good, full stop. And I choose to teach here because it shouldn't take a French masterpiece for us to recognize that. It matters that more kids in America get to experience this feeling. Right now, too many are having it shooed away. Too many girls only know adults who would see this and say, "Why are you wasting your time with your friends?" Too many boys, like my boys from earlier, spend their days trapped in an environment that prohibits the rambunctiousness, the physical play, and the energy that they need to express for their development. But at community school, we get these moments in our school year all the time. Sometimes they literally look like that. Two girls sitting on a hill and eating snacks. Most of the time, ours look a little bit different. See if this works. Yes, no. Thank you all for being here tonight, but most of all, thank you for the generosity that you show to kids. Whether it's your own children, to the student body of community school, or the countless kids around the world that don't have access to the school that they deserve. Have a great night. See you on the dance floor.